the name in between that has been drawn first is Arsenal. But yes, so we'll find out who Arsenal are going to play. But yeah, quite exciting, isn't it, for some of these managers who could be ending the season with a bit of silverware?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Tuchel had a disastrous month about a month ago. They've actually responded really well with 13 goals in their last 3 games. They lost the first leg of their last 16 tie against Lazio, but stormed back through a Harry Kane brace and Leon Goretzka grabbing another goal to make the quarter-finals. As for Xavi and Barcelona, they've been in amazing form since he announced he was leaving at the end of the season. They're actually unbeaten in all competitions, so it'll be fascinating to see whether he can carry that on into the quarter-finals.
Absolutely. OK, so who will be drawn against Arsenal? Drum roll, please. The anticipation is here. And they will play Bayern Munich. What do we think about that? Goodness me. Kane, of course, coming up against Arsenal.
Yeah, absolutely huge tie. I don't think Arsenal fans will be jumping for joy. Bayern Munich have dispatched them in a number of occasions during that really poor last 16 run. They had exited at the last 16 stage 7 times, and Bayern Munich had inflicted a fair amount of damage in that time, the likes of Arjen Robben, etc. This Bayern Munich side, they didn't necessarily get their summer business spot on. They didn't get that defensive midfielder they wanted. João Palhinha, Chalobah, they were looking to sign on the final day as well. They are 10 points off Bayer Leverkusen in the Bundesliga, but they do carry a massive threat with Harry Kane, Leroy Sané, Serge Gnabry, Kingsley Coman might be back from injury as well. So this is not an ideal tie for Arsenal. OK, so Atletico Madrid have just been drawn out of the next ball. Goodness me, who on earth could they potentially be up against? They, of course, lost to Manchester City, didn't they, on aggregate already at this stage of the competition? Yeah, Atletico Madrid haven't had a great time in the Champions League in recent years, but it does feel like a very different side to their usual defensive, deep block side. Only Man City have scored more goals than them in the competition. They've scored 19. Man City, the runaway top scorers, with 24. But in Griezmann, Depay, Morata, they've definitely got enough threats to trouble anyone.
And they will take on Borussia Dortmund. So Atletico Madrid against Dortmund. How on earth is that one going to pan out? Goodness me.
Yeah, this will be fascinating, to be honest. I think they are 2 of the underdogs remaining in this competition, so to definitely have one of them in the semi-finals is a great call for both of them. Simeone will be absolutely delighted with that. And I think Edin Terzic will fancy himself as well. Jadon Sancho getting on the score sheet the other night with Marco Reus, Nicholas Füllkrug. They definitely carry a threat there, Dortmund as well. And their Champions League form, as I said a few minutes ago, has been excellent this season. Just 1 defeat in this year's competition, and that came against PSG on the opening day. So both those sides will think they've got a lot of hope of going through.
I think that was Real Madrid, the most successful team, of course, in this tournament. It's nice to see, actually, Spanish teams not going to be facing each other. We've got 2 English teams not going to be facing each other at this stage. We wondered if there could be 2 German teams facing each other, but it's not played out that way. I think we were hoping, just for the interest, that it wasn't going to be Arsenal up against Manchester City. But, it is City, Manchester City up against Real Madrid. What a tie that is. The most exciting that has been drawn so far, do you feel? Yeah,
I think so. Definitely the 2 probably favourites for this year's competition. As we keep on saying, Real Madrid, the 14-time champions. That's more than double, or that is exactly double, anyone else. AC Milan next on 7. These 2 did meet in the semi-finals last year.
They lost.
Man City, exactly. Man City put an amazing performance. I think they beat them 5-1. That was an exceptional performance. 4-0 at home, I believe it was. Man City last year beat Bayern Munich. They beat Real Madrid. So they'll think they've got the belief to beat these bigger sides. But with Vinicius Jr. in such magnificent form, Jude Bellingham having already scored 20 goals in all competitions, that is not who you want to be drawing at the quarter-final stage.
And we now know they have just drawn Paris Saint-Germain, and they will be taking on the only team left. And out of this ball that is just about to be drawn will be, let's just see, just confirmation. We knew it was going to be Barcelona, but yeah, you just never know. I wanted to do it officially first, officially by UEFA, before we go and break any rules. So there we go. We now know the draw for the quarter-finals of the Champions League. We're going to work out this route as well to the semi-finals. But yeah, Paris Saint-Germain up against Barcelona. How are we feeling about that?
That's an interesting tie. I mean, it feels like Kylian Mbappe is almost definitely going to be joining Real Madrid this year. So this is his final chance to finally win a Champions League with PSG. They, of course, reached the final in 2020, lost to Bayern Munich, so he'll be fully motivated. Luis Enrique's been resting him in the league to keep him fresh for these games, and he's thinking about his impending departure, trying to get the team ready for an Mbappe-less future. Barcelona haven't gone deep in the Champions League for a number of years. They haven't won the competition since 2015, but they were impressive against Napoli, albeit a Napoli side that are on to their third manager of the year. So that's going to be a really interesting tie. I think all the ties look really fascinating.
OK, so we are going to find out which sort of winners of the quarter-final two has come out first. So we'll find out who they will play in the semi-final. We'll just remind everyone as well of quarter-final two, Atletico Madrid and Dortmund. So Atletico Madrid or Dortmund, good old school pen and paper here, will take on the winners of quarter-final, fingers covering the piece of paper that we're eagerly trying to see there. So yeah, Paris, PSG or Barca, oh my goodness.
Yeah, there's going to be an underdog in the final.
Arsenal and City could meet in the other one. So that's what we know about the other tie.
Yeah, we know we've got Arsenal, Man City, Bayern Munich and Real Madrid on one side of the draw. That is absolutely blockbuster. On the other side of the draw, there's going to be an underdog in the final. It's going to be Dortmund, Atletico Madrid, Barcelona or PSG, all of which will be desperate, but they'll go into that final as underdog based on their league performances this year. That is a huge blockbuster one side of the draw. Makes for a fascinating one side of the draw, but there will be an underdog in the final this year.
So it could have City-Arsenal in the semi-final. How do we feel about that?
Well, it's going to be fascinating, isn't it? Arsenal have won their last 2 games against Man City and have, I think, been the form team in the Premier League this year. They've scored more goals than Man City, they've conceded fewer. But this is a Man City side that have been there and done that in this stage of the Champions League. As I said, Arsenal haven't even reached a semi-final since 2008-09 when they lost, I think, 3-1 to Man United. Cristiano Ronaldo scoring a brace. So that shows how long ago Arsenal have been at the latter stages of this competition. Man City, as I said, beat Bayern, beat Real Madrid to make the final last year. Beat Inter Milan, weren't necessarily at their best. But that could be a fascinating semi-final clash. But to be honest, I think they both need to be focusing on their quarter-final opponents. Bayern Munich for Arsenal, that's far from ideal. Real Madrid, Man City won't be happy with that whatsoever.
Do you think Paris Saint-Germain of all the sides might actually be sort of happiest of the lot in terms of how they can see their route to potentially a final?
Absolutely. I think Barcelona, on paper at least, were amongst the easier sides you could draw, and then they'll play a semi-final against either Atletico Madrid or Borussia Dortmund, who will both pose issues to them. But PSG haven't necessarily been at their best in this year's competition. They finished behind Dortmund in the group stage. So that'll be really interesting to see whether they've picked up top form by the time a potential semi-final comes around. OK, so goodness me, here we go. We're just going to tell you, you can see a little bit across the bottom of the screen who will be facing who as well. All eyes were on Arsenal and Manchester City, but the quarter-final draw is this: Arsenal up against Bayern Munich. It is Atletico Madrid, so the Spanish side's being kept apart at this stage, up against Borussia Dortmund. Real Madrid, Manchester City, goodness me, Paris Saint-Germain against Barcelona. And you do wonder, actually, if Pep Guardiola, how do you think he's going to be feeling about being drawn against Real Madrid? You kind of almost wondered if it was going to be, third time in 3 years, of course. You wondered if it was going to be maybe Barcelona kind of bringing that reunion back as well. And if anything, he knows these Spanish sides more than anyone. Yeah, absolutely. Having come through La Masia, having played for Barcelona during that amazing era under Johan Cruyff, having managed Barcelona in those infamous clashes in the El Clasico against Real Madrid. He knows Real Madrid well. They beat them last year, but it's such a difficult tie.
OK, and just to reiterate as well, the winners of Arsenal, Bayern Munich will take on the winner of Paris Saint-Germain or Barcelona, and the winner of Atletico Madrid, Dortmund, will take on Real Madrid or Manchester City.